So obviously we're here to talk about the Bengals versus the Jaguars. But I have to ask, because we just had a difference of opinion on pay dirt. Thursday night football, Commanders at the Packers.
Mm.
Who you got?
Oh,
You know
man.
what? Historically speaking, that is going to be a great matchup, like on any other given Sunday, but it's Thursday. And typically, whoever's the home team, and it's the Green Bay Packers in that instance, I'm just going to just stick with them. That's the safe bet, honestly.
Yeah. That's what
I'm gonna take
ultimately
the
got
Packers.
off of betting.
Yeah, I'm taking the Packers too because they're the home team, and is Jaden Daniels? Does he not have a sophomore slump? That's my question. And how many times can Micah get home? So I'm going to take the Packers because they're at home. Traveling team, like Justin just said, traveling team usually has a little bit harder time, but yeah, I'm taking the Packers.
All right. You guys are talking me into the fact that I'm doing a good job by listening to valued opinions and not just throwing my hard-earned money on somebody because I want to bet the Thursday night game. I guess I won't bet it. I guess I'll just watch it and try to enjoy it without action on the game. Once again, we are running through the jungle. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, here with your host, Tim Lyons, and Justin Lacey. What's going on, fellas?
What it do?
Uh-oh, we're going to find. Yes,
Mute.
I love starting the show with fine money.
I did talk on mute, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah.
Hey, okay. My apologies. I said it's week 2 and I'm ready for it.
Well, instead of fine, we'll just call it rehearsal. You were rehearsing. Austin's Art and Mary Edwards, thank you for rocking with us from the very start of the show. We appreciate you guys. All of you out there watching, if you have not already, please hit that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe. Tell a friend where you come to get some Bengals info. Appreciate it. Mary Edwards. Uh-oh, can you hear me now? Got him. All right. So thank you, gentlemen, for holding down the fort with the roaring reactions. I'm glad I don't have to talk about it. Obviously, it wasn't exactly the way we wanted to win, but we won against the Cleveland Browns. I had a work function. It was a team building thing we did.
On a Sunday.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we had to get together when we actually have time to. And it was like bring your family and spouse and whatever, the kids or whatever. It was a swimming pool. It was kind of a fun day. Cook pizzas outside on one of the outdoor ovens and stuff.
And you got stuck watching the Steelers game and didn't watch any Bengals football.
I had to walk off on a phone and watch streamed Bengals football that was like 3 minutes behind. It was quite interesting. And then people would tell me what happened. He got the ball back. I'm like, yeah, got the ball back. I'm trying to watch it. What are you going to do? Yep. Mary Edwards says it the way it should be said. Dub is a dub. Winning games is hard in the National Football League, so I'm not going to complain about getting one, especially early in the season. We know how that's gone for us in the past.
Right.
But enough of that dreaded game. We got a game here Sunday at 1:00 in Cincinnati, even though it feels more like Florida for Sunday's game. 89 degrees is supposed to be the high. The Jaguars will be there for an orange out game, I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So this is pretty cool. And the Jags, they won their game against the team they were supposed to beat. Had some moments where they looked good, had some moments where they looked not so good. So I think this is a telltale sign for our two teams. If you have not watched yet, the Bengals crossover with John Otto, you should check that out. John Otto, drummer from Limp Bizkit, was a really cool dude. Knew his football, had some things to say about the Jaguars, the Bengals even, and just kind of the overall feeling he had of the franchise and things that was going on. It's pretty good podcast, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, it was great. It was fun.
Yeah, good times. Before we get into our keys to the game, anything that you guys want to say to put a bow on last week going into this week, or feelings or thoughts going into this week? Justin, you got anything you want to add?
Yeah, you know what? Time will tell if week one was going to be subdued to week one weirdness, or if we know that the Bengals really have problems. And quite frankly, both sides of the ball, they still got work to be done. But bottom line is, I know that the camera has officially panned over to the offensive side of the ball. They did not look good against the Browns. I don't know why they keep having trouble with Cleveland, but week two will be kind of like the tall tale sign that if they're back or not. Um, Fun fact, the Bengals, actually not so fun fact, I should say this. The Bengals have yet to win in week two under the Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow era. They are combined winless in this whole
0-6?
spectrum. They have not won on week two. Everybody's been talking about week one, but week two, that's the week that I have not seen them win in a long time. We haven't won in week two since 2018. That was when we started off 3-1, I believe. Yeah, that's rough, and quite frankly, stuff like that can't continue. It adds into, hey, this is still the start of the season. It's a slow start, but bottom line is they got to win today. It's the home opener. You open all out in orange, and quite frankly, you got to right another wrong from last year's open out in orange against the Patriots. This time it's against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So all eyes are going to be on this team to see if they can rebound.
You know what? Open in orange is on notice. Go 0-2 against these two teams. We're no longer going to open in orange. I think we could get a movement going, even if the organization tried to do it, to just get actual fans not to. Tim, any overview you want to lay out here for the people?
That offense has got to keep the pedal to the metal, to put the pedal to the floor. Excuse me, pedal to the floor. If we do not, it's going to be a long game on Sunday. That 7 yards of total offense, that second half is awful. That is just awful. I know a lot of the Browns fans are just like, oh, you guys got one on us, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? A win's a win. Get over it. We won. Have a nice day. We'll see you again later on in the season. Who day?
I mean, and really, no one can find a better way to lose than the Cleveland Browns.
It's their own fault.
They're making a killing doing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this. Doom and gloom, I was pretty upset with the win, even though it was a win, whatever. All things said, if you'd have told me at the end of week one that we'd be sitting here talking about how bad the offense was and be 1-0, I'd sign up for it. I know what the offense is. I've seen it before.
Right.
Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown didn't all of a sudden get bad at football.
Mm-hmm.
I have to feel that the offensive line will make improvements as they play together. When you have a new mix together, it's always a little dicey. Some of those stunts that Cleveland ran were excellent and whatnot. So I'm okay with the issues we're having right now. I think they're fixable issues. So
yeah,
not all doom and gloom for me. All right, well, let's get into the keys to the game here. against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know Justin was working really hard on his notes backstage, so I'm going to let you start it off, Justin. What do you think the keys to the game here are for the Cincinnati Bengals on offense versus this Jacksonville Jaguars defense?
Well, I think the important thing to note is that the Jacksonville Jaguars, they've had a nice little remake on both sides of the ball. They've retained some young pieces. We already know that Trayvon Walker was a number 2 overall draft pick in 2022. Sure, he hasn't quite lived up to the hype that most number 1 overall picks would in this position, but they complemented him very well with Josh Hines Allen. Josh Hines Allen is one of the premier pass rushers in the league, and he has well established himself that you can make an argument that he had quietly had entered the conversation of defensive player of the year last year had the Jags not been so bad. This year, the team is kind of like softly turned over respectfully due to, hey, they got young pieces. They're going to move fast. What I did watch from their game against the Panthers is, yes, that was a team that they should have beaten, but the Jags were also a team that if you're going against them, you should beat too. So there's a little bit of give and take there. Week 1 weirdness typically happens quite often across the league. The weirdness that I point out was that this was a game that was delayed for about an hour, a little over an hour or so, due to a lightning delay down there in South Florida, or I guess Central Florida, whatever Jacksonville is located in, Duval. And that halted a lot of momentum, just like we saw in the Cowboys and the Eagles Thursday night game last week in week 1. The same thing happened against this team as well, too. But Jacksonville was able to take advantage. They was able to gain momentum. They're back at home. And meanwhile, the Carolina Panthers struggled mightily. And quite frankly, the defense was operating pretty fast. They got a couple of turnovers. And then there one guy, I'm blanking on how to pronounce his last name here. The linebacker who actually won, let's see, Fayosade Olukun. It looks like that he had won AFC Defensive Player of the Week honors as of yesterday. So kudos to him. He ended his day with a forced fumble and also deflected a pass that led to an interception. You know that this Jaguars team is feeling themselves quite a bit, and they should. They also got Travis Hunter, who's also going to be playing some snaps on this side of the ball too. That's going to every Bengals fan is going to be like, oh, what are we going to do? Like he going to line up on Jamar. I think Liam Cohen is pretty smart to understand that that's not what he's going to want for his young corner superstar wide receiver / cornerback to do. But it is going to be a test for Travis Hunter against this Bengals receiving core. I think the Bengals also need to come out and establish the run against this defense. It's not going to be easy because this D line of the Jaguars have gotten pretty damn good so far. Dwayne Smoot, who is actually a depth piece, a guy that's plays behind Josh Allen, he's going to actually be one of the center focus pieces that they're going to try to rotate and get him on the field. They also got guys like Emmanuel Ogbah, even though he was actually listed as inactive. You got Mason Smith. For those that don't remember who Mason Smith was, think back to when we drafted Chris Jenkins. Mason Smith was one of those guys that was on the board too. I think he was one of the pick. He got picked before the Bengals drafted Chris Jenkins. So they've softly turned over this roster. They're moving pretty quick. I do like some of the young pieces that they have on this side of the ball, but they still have a lot to prove. And going against a veteran Bengals offense that is still projected to be one of the top 3 offenses in the league, I think the Bengals are in for a opportunity to where they can score a lot more points this time around, especially with them being at home.
All right. Yeah, lot to unpack here with the Jags and the way our offense goes up against their defense. Defensive line looked good for sure. Tim, I'm going to kick it over to you. How do you think our offense stacks up against their defense? What are the keys to the game there?
You know, if the week 5 offense shows up on week 2 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, we'll be just fine. You know, I said it yesterday. Jacksonville's in a lot of trouble if Joe Cool shows up to the building with his shades on. Jamar Chase is out there, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, Mike Gesicki. If they get cooking early and keep the pedal to the floor, it's going to be a long day for Jacksonville. But I'm going to be the voice of reasoning, and let's do a reality check here, just like you said. We are 0-6 or 5-6, whatever the hell it is, for the last 6 years with Zach Taylor as our head coach. This game right here is a prove it game for the Cincinnati Bengals offense. We have to get cooking. We can't be saying, "Oh, we're having a slow start," or all this BS. I'm tired of hearing this damn excuse. These slow excuses. I don't know if I should blame Zach Taylor's offensive calling, or should I be blaming Joe Burrow? Should I be blaming the offensive line? I don't know who to blame, but since HC is next to Zach Taylor's name, I'm putting the blame on him. We need to get out there. We need to run the ball, play actions, get Joe under center, open up the run game, open up the pass. Let's play like Joe Burrow knows how to play. Let's get Jamar Chase, one-on-one, some one-on-one matchups. Let's get him open. I give credit to the Cleveland Browns secondary. They played Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. They played them well. And I don't know if it's because Cleveland has our number or just the formula against Joe Burrow in our offense. But this slow start shit's got to go, man. It really has to go. And we really need to really put the pedal to the metal this Sunday against Jacksonville. Defensive wise,
no, we're not there yet.
We're still talking about offense. I'm sorry.
We're talking about our offense versus their defense because I got something to say about it too.
All right. Yeah. So offensive wise, that's all I got to say about it. Brandon, what do you say?
I think the key to the game is to stop taking what the defense gives you. Stop overthinking, overanalyzing everything. We have people on our offense that are as good as anybody at their position. We need to be dictating the game to the defense instead of vice versa. I think the key to that is getting Jamar Chase involved early and often.
Yep.
I move him around more, put him in motion more, get him the ball early. I don't care if it's on a jet sweep. I don't care if it's on a bubble screen. I don't care if it's on a 9 route. Throw him the damn ball. So that's my key offensive wise. Now, does that mean that they got to block it well enough that we can actually get a pass off without Joe getting,
murdered?
Almost murdered? Yeah, that would be nice. That would be helpful in that piece. But I think start to dictate the game to the defense and get Jamar Chase involved. Listen, as far as our defense is concerned, Tim, you seem like you really had something to say about it, so I'm going to let you go next, and then we'll flip it over to Justin. What do you think the keys to the game for us on the defensive side of the ball is?
Our front five or front 4 or 5, whatever you want to call us, needs to keep that pressure on them. Make sure that they're stepping up and playing against the run as well as they did against Cleveland. I know I can say that. I'll say that loosely because Cleveland didn't have, Nick Chubb or Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley, but we knew what Cleveland was going to do. They're going to try to control the game with the run game. With what ETN can do, if we can control that front 5, if we can control that run game, I think we'll have a successful day. But also though is our secondary needs to really step up this game because you have Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr., even though Brian Thomas Jr. really didn't play like himself last week. They have some decent tight ends. They don't have, household name tight ends, but tight ends kill us. They've been killing us for years. I don't care who the defensive coordinator is or who we have out there on defense. The tight ends have been killing us, and it killed us last week as well. But if we can put some pressure on them, make Trevor Lawrence sit in the pocket and get to him quickly, I think we'll have a successful game, But there are my fears about that too, but I'm not going to get into that. But making sure that we do have a quarterback spy on Trevor Lawrence because he can get out and run. So, that's my key to the defense.
For sure. Justin, your key for the defense here against the Jaguars offense?
One of the things I want to kind of point out that I appreciated what Jacksonville did this past Sunday is that they established a run and actually stuck with it. Now, it was tough for the Bengals to do against the Browns because it seemed like that when the running gets going, the going gets running. And when it comes to the passing game, they had no passing game when they tried to, flip their game plan in the second half. Jacksonville, on the other hand, didn't ask Trevor Lawrence to do very much. Trevor Lawrence was 19 of 31 for 178 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. But it was a very pedestrian day when you look at the stat line. The errant interception is whatever. It is what it is. Again, you can chalk it up to it's just week one. But at the end of the day, I think that their main focus was they need to establish the ground game. And they also used the defense to kind of sort of counteract it and help support that as well, too. Travis Etienne rushed for 143 yards and 16 carries. The Jags totally rushed 202 yards. Now, again, this is not the Bengals defense of last year as what we saw. They went against the Carolina Panthers, but Carolina also had a lot of new faces too. Carolina still has a lot to prove. But what I'm seeing right now is that Jacksonville's offense is almost very reminiscent of the Chargers offense from last year when Jim Harbaugh wanted to really hammer home the rushing attack. So, what did that mean for the Bengals defense? It's simple. You got to make sure you stop the run. Trevor Lawrence is looking for Travis Etienne, and he is looking for him early to get him going, to get that offense to open up the passing attack early. Oh, and by the way, they still have those wideouts on the outside. Yes, it does feature Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr., who we know is a stud. He and Malik Neighbors came in together last year, and they just basically just took off with their rookie years. Brian Thomas had to wait a little bit later. But they also got Tim Patrick, who they acquired via trade from the Detroit Lions this past August, actually a few weeks ago, really. And they also signed De'Ami Brown in free agency. De'Ami Brown, if those fans that don't remember him, he was one of those back end type of roster talents that you can see in a draft where when we had the debate between Jamar Chase versus Penei Sewell in 2021, many people that picked Penei Sewell was saying you can draft Penei Sewell and then get a guy like De'Ami Brown in the second round. Well, De'Ami Brown is not Jamar Chase. He's on the second team, but he's making a name for himself on that Jaguars offense. Tim mentioned tight ends. Now, this is not the Eric Evan Ingram passing attack when it comes to the tight ends, but they still have a couple of solid guys on there. I see Brenton Strange and you got Johnny Munt with Hunter Long as a backup there too. So they got a few options there to where they can sort of matriculate downfield properly. I think a couple of those guys usually are used to kind of kick inside to help block a little bit for guys like Travis Hunter, especially Travis Etienne, especially when he can sort of do it all kind of thing. He's not just a normal straight downhill runner. He can bounce to the outside and he can get yards that way too. The Bengals are going to have to stay disciplined against the ground attack of the Jaguars, but also these corners are going to get tested. Cam Taylor-Britt, it's no more excuses for him. He needs to stop playing scared right now. I don't know what it is about CTB right now, but I'm glad that he took accountability and came out to Al Golden, during practice and said, I'm not going to do that again. Well, if I recall, man, you kind of did that last year too during Lou Anarumo's last stint here, where you kind of held yourself accountable. You were benched and you came out and said, "Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to play like shit again." Well, you played like shit again in week one, and here we go again. So, Cam Taylor-Britt, you got to be on your P's and Q's with this one. Otherwise, it's going to be another long hell of a season for you. And when it comes to this upcoming Sunday, it's going to be hell for you. Period. So, with that being said, the Bengals, they really have to stay disciplined in this game. They really do. It was one thing going against Joe Flacco, old man Joe Flacco, who was doing nothing but dirt ball checkdowns and stuff, getting his yards that way. You can kind of sort of get him off his spot. But Trevor Lawrence, he's mobile. He also has a cannon of an arm still. This is maybe not the living up to the hype of being a number one overall pick from 2021, but Trevor Lawrence still has potential that he can still unlock. And I think Liam Cohen is working diligently to get that unlocked for him. Still takes some time, but I like to see another recipe of success for this Bengals defense going against Jacksonville on offense this time around.
All right, good stuff. I really think the key for our defense is to put some pressure on Sunshine. I still call him that.
I know I did too.
Rather it be up the middle, rather it be outside. I think Shamar Stewart looked Joseph Osai. Justin, I know you were ahead of me on this one. I thought he was going to have a good year or whatever. After week one, this guy's on the outside looking in. Shamar Stewart played better than him. Miles Murphy played better than him. And, Cedric Johnson has a chance to really come in and make him the odd man out if he doesn't get his shit together. There's a reason why we got TJ Slayton. He's got to play better against the run in this game.
Yep.
Mike Pennell played pretty well. I think him, Chris Jenkins, BJ Hill, those guys rotating in. They've got to be stout against the run. But I want to get some pressure because I think again we're at a situation where you have a quarterback that is prone to turn the ball over when pressured. So that's something I think. Get some pressure on the quarterback, be opportunistic again with the turnover. I think that's kind of a key to the game here for our defense against them. Mm-hmm. Now, all that said, single person on this week, when we go one person, who's the most important person for the Bengals' success this week? I'm taking CTB. Bro, you can't be the worst graded defender from PFF on our team this game because you will get absolutely cooked by this team. Brian Thomas and the rest of the guys, they will embarrass you. So I want to make sure I make that clear. I think we have an opportunity to turn him over, but I also think they have an opportunity to absolute cook CTB if he doesn't play up to his capabilities. We've seen him play really good football. You just got to get it together. Justin, I'll throw it back to you. Who do you think the single most important person is for the success of the Cincinnati Bengals this week? I'm
looking at you, Shamar Stewart. You actually did something when it comes to being somewhat disruptive. Tossing Wyatt Teller on the seams or whoever it was DeJuan Jones, actually, that video that's keep resurfacing on Twitter.
Big boy.
But now you've shown that you can be very disruptive and that can translate into the NFL. But now I need you to show up on the stat sheet. You are the guy that has taken over the place of Joseph Osai, as what you already mentioned, Brandon. I'm not looking forward to Joseph Osai at all. Sure, he can come in spots, but I think that we've already seen the best of what he can do. It's Trey and Shamar Stewart. I know what Trey can do. But Shamar Stewart, this is your time to shine. You talking about generating pressure on Sunshine? That's the Sunshine right there that needs to be able to attack the guy that we're talking about. Shamar Stewart, this can be your coming out party right here. Now, it ain't going to be easy because I kind of like what the Jags have on their offensive line so far. Now, they got Walker Little, who's been a standout for them, since they've drafted him, but they also got Ezra Cleveland, Patrick McCarry, who we know from Baltimore. They also drafted Anton Harrison, that's their right tackle. I'm not really sure who Robert Haney is. Yeah, their center. I'm not really kind of quite familiar with their game. I'm not going to try to sit there and spew off that I know and watch every single film cut-up draw of them. But they got a few guys that I do know some of their games in, and it's not going to be an easy thing to do. They are pretty good from an individual standpoint. Now, as a collective conglomerate unit, that still remains to be seen. But Shamar Stewart, you can win those individual matchups against those guys. Those guys are not DeJuan Jones, okay? DeJuan Jones is bigger than those guys. Walker Little, I like him, but I don't love him like that. And quite frankly, I think Trey Henderson is going to occupy him for the most part. So the guy that you're going to be probably going up against the most is their right tackle. And you can also kick inside and go against some of their guards and centers here too. So there's an opportunity there. And it also is an opportunity for him to make a statement to not only just start knifing back in the backfield and tackle guys like Travis Etienne or even Bashul Tutton, because they don't have Tank Bisbee. They trade him away to the Eagles for a couple of picks. But Shamar still has a chance to really break out and kind of show his coming out party today. So that's the guy that I'm going to pick.
All right, Tim. One single person most valuable or most important to the Bengals' success. Who is it?
With my defensive keys to the game, I was thinking about a guy, and I was thinking about the guy the whole time, Justin, and you guys were talking about your guys. Knight Jr. He's going to have the responsibility of, because I don't see them putting Logan Wilson on a spy. I think Knight's a little bit, he's younger, he's faster. I'd probably put him on a spy, covering the middle of the field. But he's also going to have to keep an eye on those tight ends coming across the field. The short, medium, the short to medium passes as well. I think this is the game where Knight, could possibly get an interception if he truly steps up to the game as a linebacker for the Bengals. I think we could see something magical against us, throughout this season. He's a very smart, he's very, very intelligent linebacker. If I remember correctly, he's a former corner or former quarterback. I forget what it is. But, he's very intelligent. He can read the quarterback's eyes. He can read the quarterback fairly well from what I've seen from his tapes in college. We've seen what he did. He had that interception during the preseason, which is great to see. Or no, I'm sorry, that was Barrett Carter, wasn't it? I can't remember. But anyways,
down by the goal line.
Yeah, it was Barrett Carter, but I'm sorry. But I think this is time where Knight Jr. steps up, plays a really crucial part of the defense this week because, I believe if I was Al Golden, I'd be putting him on a quarterback spy, kind of trolling the middle of the field. Also, if they're playing in zone coverages and stuff like that, kind of keeping an eye on Trevor Lawrence to see if he's going to run or not. He's going to be the fastest guy. So I'm going to put the weight on his shoulders this week.
All right, good stuff. Before we get into our offensive players and defensive players of the game and our predictions, we're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsors. We'll be right back and give you more of what you want. I'll run it through the jungle. And we are back talking about the Cincinnati Bengals matchup Sunday, 1 o'clock versus the Jacksonville Jaguars in Cincinnati. Like I said before, it's going to be a hot one. Hopefully the offense will be just as hot for Cincinnati Bengals as the temperature. So starting off there, let's get our offensive player of the game. Justin, who you taking for your offensive player of the game this week?
I'm going with one of the stars. I'm going to pick Jamar Chase. He only had like a couple of catches in the game against Cleveland. I know that he's itching to break out to show that, hey, look, that week one was a weird matchup nightmare when it goes against the Browns. This easily could be a T. Higgins game in this spot too here, but I'm going to pick Jamar Chase because I think there's going to be a lot of heavy emphasis to trying to slow down the passing attack. But I think that the Bengals are going to be ready for it and counter it. And I think Jamar is going to be the guy to lead them the way. I am going to protect like a $150 in yards, maybe a touchdown. Jamar Chase also has great games against the Jaguars. The last time these two teams played each other without Joe Burrow, obviously, was 2023. Jamar Chase, who was the one that was the key in the engine to the offense for Jake Browning. And he was almost kind of like that guy that single-handedly won the game for Jake Browning and company. So that's the guy that I'm going to go with for my prediction.
I dig it. Tim, who you taking for your offensive player of the game prediction?
I'm going to go with the guy that's going to be responsible for throwing Jamar Chase the football. Joe Burrow, Joe Cool, Joe Shiesty. I think he's pissed off of his from his performance last week. And sometimes when you piss off when a quarterback's pissed off, they either play really well or not. Joe Burrow's case, I think he plays really well when he's pissed off. I'm going to give it to Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is going to be serving up, I'm going to say 3 touchdowns. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, get ready to catch that damn football.
Man, I teetered back and forth between whether I was going to take Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase.
Well, I was actually teetering between Joe Burrow and Mike Gesicki, but yeah.
I ended up going with Jamar Chase, 7 catches for $132 and at least one tutty. At least one tutty. So I'm gonna take Jamar Chase.
Like it.
Defensive player of the game. Tim, I'm gonna throw it to you first here. Who are you gonna pick for your prediction for your defensive player of the game?
Well, if you just heard me talk about this defender, you know who I'm going to pick for the defensive player of the game because I believe he's going to get an interception. Knight Jr. I'm going to give him
Knight.
Yep, Demetrius Knight Jr. is going to get my defensive ball. I believe he's going to get a pick against Trevor Lawrence. I think he's going to be crucial. I just believe that for some reason I think Al Golden's defense, they're focusing on, what Trevor's doing. Is he going to be, even if it's throwing the football or with his legs? I think Demetrius Knight Jr. is going to be the key factor, and he's going to prove me right. And Al's going to call me on Monday and be like, Tim, you're 100% right.
Oh, all right. I'll take the under on that. Justin, who are you predicting here with your defensive player of the game?
I always obviously wanted to go with Shamar Stewart just because he is the guy that I'm going to be paying the most focus and attention to, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm actually going to go with B.J. Hill. I think that B.J. Hill had himself a hell of a game last week. I think that he's the veteran. He's the captain. He's the one that's the big-time leader on that D-line. He and T.J. Slayton, I think, both really kind of brought the best out of the edge rushers with their abilities to sort of neutralize and mitigate Cleveland's rushing attack. And I think that B.J. Hill is going to be the guy that's going to do the same wonders against Travis Etienne and company for that rushing attack, and then allow us to be able to open up the pass rushing capabilities for them.
Good pick.
Mary Edwards is wearing his jersey of the game and excited that you picked him. Justin, I'm also excited that you picked him because I didn't want you picking my guy again. I got Shamar Stewart with his first NFL sack and a forced fumble. Man, I have these written down in ink already, and you almost sniped me both times. That's crazy. Man,
and Shamar Stewart, I was ready to do it, but I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not going to fall into that category because he's the guy that I'm watching that can have the opportunity of a game-wrecking kind of day coming out party. And if that happens, yeah, obviously we're going to give him the award. But I need to see it first. And quite frankly, B.J. Hill has been a guy that's been the most reliable for me, and that's why I went with him.
Oh yeah, listen. I went with the higher odds. You know what I mean? That's what I'm going for. A little higher odds. Double A over here got Trey Hendrickson and the Knight Rider. Okay, I see you, TJ Slayton.
I do like Knight Rider. Yeah,
I hope TJ Slayton has the game that you're predicting there, Double A, because it didn't quite turn over last week. All right. Last but not least, score predictions. Justin, I'll let you start it off. Sunday, about 4:15. What kind of mood am I going to be in? Give me a score prediction, Justin.
You know what? There is a pathway for the Bengals to lose this game, believe it or not. But I'm also not going to be super high on the Jags just because they did beat the brakes off of the Panthers a little bit. Again, that rain delay can do wonders for the home team and wonders for the road team, and that sounds like that's what happened as well too. There's some number of great things that I pointed out with this Jacksonville team that I think that can scare the Bengals opposition. The Bengals are favored 3.5 at home. That sounds about right. And quite frankly, I think the Bengals do cover. I'm not going to predict a blowout like I tried to do week 1. I think the Bengals win a game in the mid-20 score range. I will say 24-20. I think that will go with that score. I don't think that we're walking away from it thinking like, oh my gosh, we're back. Look at this offense. But at the end of the day, I think the Bengals do get a win, and then they start off 2-0. They're at home. I think that they also right the wrongs and win a game in orange like they should have done last year against the New England Patriots when they opened out the stadium in orange too.
Tim, are you going to give me another shenanigans score like you did for our crossover?
You know what's funny is this.
he took 21-18. 18. He's got the Jaguars having 6 field goals, I think.
I was just like, I don't know, off in La La Land, and
what really happened was he predicted the Jaguars to cover, but the Bengals
don't
to
ruin
win.
it. Don't ruin it for me.
And then he said 21-17, and I go, that means the Jaguars cover.
Like, oh, wait a minute, yeah,
that means the Bengals cover. The Jaguars don't. The Bengals do.
Hey, I did. I made that error. I can own up to my mistakes, unlike Mr. Brandon Herriott can do. I'll own up to my mistake.
Oh,
no, my mathematical.
I make plenty of them.
That was my mathematical mistake there. Sometimes I think 2 + 2 = 6. It happens. So, on that note,
Clean
Brandon,
slate.
shut the hell
Give us
up.
one from clean
shut the
slate
hell
here.
up. If I was a betting man, and I'll say this again, if I was a betting man, I would be taking the Jacksonville Jaguars to 3.5 points, because I say the Bengals are going to win 24-21. Excuse me, 24-21. We win by 3 points. Like I said, I think Joe Burrow has 3 touchdowns. But I think we're going to have a field goal in there, and it's going to be a 24-21 game.
Austin Zark says 26-10. I think I'm not feeling the defense. I think it's a rough matchup for us on certain things. I hope that my score prediction's wrong. I'll say that. But I do think we all have this spread being pretty close to spot on by Vegas, because I have a 4-point game as well. I'm going to keep the score that I had on the Bengals crossover, 34-30 in a shootout. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals. So we all took the Bengals, so we all should be in a good mood at the end of the day. That's what we said. Sunday afternoon, we'll do a roaring reaction in the evening. It'll be great. We'll sing Kumbaya. Maybe have some s'mores. Who knows?
Who knows if Brandon's going to show up?
Who knows? You never know. You never know.
Look, I just want the Bengals to go 2-0. Like Zach Taylor said in his press conference that, look, I just want to be 2-0. He hasn't been 2-0 here since he got here. And quite frankly, I need him to just win the game. Just win the game, and we'll worry about how it looks later on.
Yeah.
Amen to that. All right. Parting shots. Tim, what do you got to say to the folks on your way out the door?
You know what? Let Justin go first, because I got something really to say with my chest. So, Justin, I'm going to give you the honors, my friend. You go ahead and give your final thoughts.
I'm going to keep it simple. Like I said, let's just go 2-0, because I think that the Bengals need to win this one just for the sake of morale of the organization, the fan base, the coaching staff. I think that they are coming off of this bad, sour taste in the mouth. The public is talking about them like they lost the game, even though they won the game. And quite frankly, I'm sort of with the line step of the public, even though I know that, hey, I'm happy to get this dub. But at the end of the day, man, the Bengals got to show us that they are back to being Super Bowl contenders again. And I just think that they have a ways to go to even show that they're back in that conversation. Now, they're still an elite team. They're still an elite quarterback, and they still have elite weapons and all that good stuff. But it's put up or shut up time. You got the win. Now let's start looking better.
All right. Listen, Tim, I'll save the best for last with you. Mine's pretty simple too. I'm glad football's back. Love football. Love my people. Love hanging with my people. My tailgates, talking trash on the text messages and everything, and social media. I'm just glad it's back. Enjoy some football, folks. Tim, final thoughts.
Yeah, tomorrow's September 11th. 24 years ago, we had a tragic, tragic time in the United States. All I got to say is we also lost a God-fearing man today. Charlie Kirk was assassinated during a event that he was hosting. I'm sad. I'm angry. But remember, tomorrow, September 11th, we lost a lot of good soldiers, good firemen, policemen. Evil is out there. Everywhere you turn, there's evil. But love each other. Doing the right thing is important. So remember, we're the United States of America. Yeah, we're divided right now, and I'm not going to go into that piece right now because this ain't the platform. But tomorrow's September 11th. Keep everybody in your thoughts and your prayers that have lost their lives 24 years ago. But on that note, Houday, thank you guys for watching. We appreciate every single one of you. Houday.
Amen, man. Amen.
Yeah.
Listen, we can disagree without being violent. I don't understand why that gets lost so much on people, man. At the end of the day, it's a bunch of opinions, and not that serious.
Yeah,
not that serious for sure. Keep the main thing the main thing, to quote our least favorite coach in the NFL. I will lift the note a little bit by saying, Houday, let's go beat the Jaguars on Sunday and catch us Sunday evening for the Roy Reactions. We're out of here.